It was a freezing night. The wind cut through the forest like sharp knives, and snow fell thickly, piling up on every branch and path. The veteran trudged through the deep snow, his coat wrapped tightly around him, his hands numb from the cold. His German shepherd walked beside him, alert, ears moving at every sound. Suddenly, the dog stopped. Its body stiffened. It growled low, staring ahead. The veteran froze and followed the dog's gaze, squinting through the swirling snow. For a moment, there was only silence, broken by the sound of the wind. Then, a faint, weak whimper reached his ears. The veteran's heart skipped a beat. He pushed through the snow toward the sound. There, huddled on the cold ground, was a little girl. She was small, shivering violently, wrapped in a thin blanket that offered almost no warmth. Her wheelchair was overturned nearby, partially buried in snow. Her eyes were wide with fear, her lips trembling as she tried to speak but could only whisper, "Please." The German shepherd immediately moved in front of her, standing protectively, growling at anything that moved in the storm. The veteran dropped to his knees beside her, wrapping his coat tightly around her tiny shoulders. "You're safe now," he said softly. "I'm here. I won't leave you." The girl clung to him, shivering, tears freezing on her cheeks. The dog nudged her gently, letting her know she wasn't alone. The veteran looked around at the endless white around them, feeling the weight of how alone she must have been, abandoned in this deadly storm. He held her close, speaking softly, trying to keep her calm. "We'll get through this. Don't worry. You're not alone anymore." For the first time since the storm began, the girl's whimpering slowed. The dog stayed close, moving only to nudge her again, protective and alert. The veteran knew it would be a long night, but he also knew one thing clearly: they had to survive this together, and nothing in the storm would take her away. The snowstorm showed no signs of stopping. The wind was relentless, slicing through every layer of clothing, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. The veteran knew they couldn't stay where they were. The little girl was freezing, and the snow was getting deeper with every passing minute. He carefully helped her to her feet, supporting her fragile frame. "Come on, we need to keep moving," he whispered. The girl nodded weakly, shivering so violently that he had to wrap his arms around her to keep her upright. The German shepherd walked beside them, eyes scanning the darkness, growling occasionally at unseen noises. Each step through the snow felt like wading through ice. His boots sank with every move, and the girl struggled to keep her balance. He lifted her slightly when the snow became too deep, cradling her carefully in his arms. After a few minutes, he found a small hollow beneath a large tree where the wind was slightly blocked. He set her down carefully. "We can't stop for long, just enough to catch our breath," he said. The girl shivered uncontrollably, and he wrapped his coat more tightly around her. The dog circled them, sniffing the air, protective. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the trees. The veteran stiffened. Wolves. Or maybe the storm, he couldn't tell. But the dog growled fiercely, positioning itself between the girl and the noise. The girl clutched his coat, eyes wide with fear. It's okay," he said, trying to calm her. "Nothing's going to hurt you. I promise." They continued walking slowly, moving carefully through the drifts of snow. The girl leaned against him, finding warmth in his coat and the dog's steady presence. Every few steps, she whispered weakly, "I can't. I'm so cold," and he would gently squeeze her hand. Hours seemed to pass. The storm wasn't letting up. Trees bent under the weight of snow, and branches fell occasionally, forcing him to move quickly to protect them both. But still, the veteran never let go of the girl, and the dog never left their side. After what felt like an eternity, he spotted something in the distance, a faint glow. A cabin? A small shelter? Hope sparked in his chest. "Look," he said softly, "I think there's help up ahead. We can make it." The girl's eyes lit up faintly, the first hint of relief in hours. She whispered, "Really?" and he nodded. "Yes, we're going to get through this." The German shepherd barked once, sharply, as if agreeing, then ran slightly ahead to guide them safely through the snow toward the faint light. The veteran's heart pounded, not from fear, but from determination. They were so close now. He could feel it. They were going to survive this night together. The faint light they had seen in the distance grew slowly as they approached. It was a small abandoned cabin, barely standing against the storm, with its windows frosted over and the door hanging slightly off its hinges. The veteran exhaled, relief washing over him, but he knew they weren't safe yet. The snow was deep, and the wind was biting through every layer of clothing. Almost there, just a little further, he whispered to the girl, his voice steady despite the freezing cold. She leaned heavily on him, shivering violently. The dog ran ahead, sniffing the ground, then barked softly to signal the path was clear. As they reached the cabin, the veteran lifted the girl inside carefully. The inside was cold, dark, and dusty, but it was a shelter. He set her down on a pile of old blankets he found in one corner. The girl wrapped herself in them as best she could, trying to get some warmth. The veteran pulled his coat tighter around himself and the dog, who sat alert by the doorway, growling at the storm outside. They were safe for the moment, but the storm raged on. Snow piled up against the walls, and the roof creaked under the weight. The veteran checked the girl's hands and face, which were red and numb. He rubbed them gently, speaking softly. "Stay with me, okay? We'll keep moving as soon as we can. You're strong. I promise we'll get through this." The girl whispered weakly, I thought I was alone," her voice trembled with exhaustion and fear. "You're not alone anymore," he said firmly, placing his hand over hers. "I'm here, and he's here," he added, gesturing to the German shepherd, who rested his head on the girl's lap protectively. "We're not leaving." Time passed slowly. The wind howled outside, shaking the cabin walls. Every few minutes, the veteran would get up and check the surroundings, peering through the small cracks in the boarded-up windows. The girl dozed lightly, shivering in her sleep. The dog stayed close, moving to cover her with its body if the cold seemed worse. Eventually, the veteran decided they couldn't wait any longer. The storm was relentless, and the little girl needed more than temporary shelter. He looked at the dog, who barked softly as if understanding the plan. "All right, buddy, we need to move. We're going to find real help," he said. The girl stirred, opening her eyes. Are we leaving?" she asked weakly. "Yes, but we'll be careful. I won't let anything happen to you," he promised. He helped her up, wrapping her in the thickest blankets he had. The dog walked closely beside them, growling at every sound outside. They stepped back into the storm, moving cautiously, one careful step at a time. Even in the brutal cold, there was a spark of hope now. The veteran felt it. The little girl, though weak and trembling, looked up at him and whispered a small, fragile word, "Thank you." He nodded, determination in his eyes. "No, thank him," he said, patting the dog. "He's the one who saved you." Together, the trio moved forward into the storm, each step a small victory against the freezing night. The glow of the distant cabin was behind them now, but the promise of rescue ahead kept their spirits alive. The storm grew even worse as they moved farther from the cabin. The wind roared through the trees, pushing against them as if trying to force them back. Snow filled the air so thickly that it felt hard to breathe. The veteran kept his arm firmly around the girl, guiding her step by step. Her legs trembled, and more than once she nearly collapsed. Each time, he caught her before she could fall. "Easy, slow steps," he said gently. "We're doing good." The girl nodded, though her face was pale and exhausted. The German shepherd stayed slightly ahead, stopping often to check the path. Whenever the ground looked unstable or the snow too deep, the dog barked softly and changed direction. The veteran trusted the dog completely. Without him, they would already be lost. After some time, the girl's breathing became shallow. She leaned heavily against the veteran, her voice barely audible. "I'm tired. I don't think I can walk anymore." The veteran stopped, heart tightening. He crouched in front of her and looked into her eyes. "Listen to me. You are stronger than you think. Just a little more. I'm right here." He lifted her carefully into his arms. The weight slowed him down, but he refused to stop. His muscles burned, his legs shaking with every step, yet he kept moving forward. The dog stayed close, occasionally brushing against the girl's feet as if reminding her she wasn't alone. A sudden cracking sound echoed through the forest. A heavy branch, weighed down by snow, snapped and crashed to the ground just a few feet away. The girl gasped in fear. The dog barked sharply, standing alert, scanning the darkness. "It's okay," the veteran said quickly, holding her tighter. "Nothing's going to hurt you." They moved on, but the sense of danger followed them. The storm howled louder, and strange sounds echoed through the trees. The veteran felt watched. He could not see anything clearly, but instinct told him they weren't completely alone out there. The German shepherd suddenly stopped and growled deeply. Its fur stood on end. The veteran froze. In the distance, shadows moved between the trees. Whether it was animals or just the storm, he couldn't tell. But the dog stood firm, placing itself between the girl and the darkness. "Easy, boy, easy," the veteran whispered. After a tense moment, the shadows disappeared into the storm. The dog relaxed slightly but stayed alert. The girl clung to the veteran, her fingers numb and trembling. "I was so scared," she whispered. "I thought no one would come." The veteran felt a heavy ache in his chest. "Someone always comes," he said softly. "Sometimes it just takes a little longer." They continued walking, each step slower than the last. The veteran's strength was fading, but his determination was not. He focused on one thing only: keeping the girl alive. In the far distance, barely visible through the snow, a new sound reached them. A low, steady hum. An engine. The veteran stopped, listening carefully. His heart raced. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. The dog lifted its head and barked once, sharp and loud, then again. Hope flared in the veteran's chest. He held the girl closer and whispered, "We're close. Help is near. Just hold on a little longer." The girl closed her eyes, trusting him completely. And in that frozen wilderness, with the storm still raging around them, hope finally began to feel real. The sound of the engine came again, louder this time, cutting through the wind and snow. The veteran's heart began to race. He stopped walking and listened carefully, afraid it might disappear like a false hope. "There, it's real," he said softly. The German shepherd lifted its head and barked again, louder and more urgent now. The sound echoed through the frozen trees. The veteran shifted the girl in his arms, trying to keep her warm. Her face was pale, her eyes half closed, her breathing shallow. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Don't fall asleep." She opened her eyes slowly. "I'm here," she said weakly. "I can hear it too." The veteran looked around desperately. The snowstorm made it hard to see anything, but he spotted a small rise ahead. With great effort, he carried the girl toward it. His legs felt heavy, every step burning with pain, but he forced himself onward. The dog ran ahead, barking repeatedly, stopping only to look back and make sure they were still following. When they reached the higher ground, the veteran set the girl down gently and pulled out his flashlight. He waved it back and forth, the weak beam barely cutting through the snow. The dog barked again, louder than before, its voice full of urgency. Minutes passed. The engine sound faded, then returned, closer now. The veteran waved the light again, his arm shaking from exhaustion. "Over here," he shouted into the storm. His voice was nearly swallowed by the wind. The girl reached out and grabbed his sleeve. "Don't leave," she whispered, fear creeping back into her voice. "I'm not going anywhere," he said immediately, kneeling beside her. "I promise." Suddenly, distant voices broke through the storm. Human voices. The veteran's breath caught in his throat. He stood up again, shouting as loudly as he could. "Help! We're here!" The German shepherd barked non-stop now, running a few steps forward and back, as if guiding whoever was coming. Shapes began to appear through the snow, large figures moving carefully, carrying lights. "We see you," someone called out. Relief hit the veteran so hard that his knees nearly gave out. He dropped back down beside the girl, holding her hand tightly. "They're here," he said, his voice shaking. "You did it. You held on." The girl's eyes filled with tears. She managed a small smile. You saved me." He shook his head slowly. "No," he said, looking at the dog standing proudly beside them. "He did." The rescue team reached them quickly, surrounding the girl with warm blankets and checking her condition. One of them looked at the veteran and said, "If you hadn't found her when you did, she wouldn't have made it." The veteran didn't answer. He just watched as they carefully lifted the girl onto a stretcher. The German shepherd stayed close, refusing to move until the girl was fully secured. As they began to move towards safety, the girl turned her head slightly and looked back at the veteran and the dog. "Thank you," she whispered again. The veteran nodded, his eyes heavy with emotion. "You're safe now," he said. "That's all that matters." The storm still raged around them, but for the first time that night, it no longer felt unbeatable. Help had arrived, and hope had finally won. The warmth inside the rescue vehicle felt unreal after the brutal cold. The girl lay wrapped in thick blankets, her body slowly relaxing as the shaking eased. Her breathing became steadier with every passing minute. A medic gently checked her hands and face, speaking softly to keep her calm. The veteran sat nearby, his shoulders finally lowering as the tension began to leave his body. His clothes were soaked, his hands red and numb, but he didn't seem to notice. His eyes stayed fixed on the girl, watching to make sure she was still awake. The German shepherd sat at his feet, quiet now, its head resting against the girl's stretcher. Every time the vehicle hit a bump, the dog lifted its head, alert, then relaxed again when everything was fine. "You're doing great," one of the rescuers said to the girl. "You're safe now." She nodded weakly and turned her head toward the veteran. "You didn't leave," she said softly. "I thought everyone forgot me." The words hit him hard. He swallowed and leaned closer. "Some people might walk away," he said gently. "But not tonight. Not us." She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again, looking at the dog. "He stayed with me the whole time." The veteran smiled faintly. "He's good at that." The rescue vehicle finally slowed and came to a stop. Bright lights greeted them as they arrived at the hospital. The doors opened, and cold air rushed in briefly before they carried the girl inside. Inside, everything felt quieter. Safer. Doctors and nurses moved quickly but calmly, surrounding the girl with care and warmth. The veteran stepped back, suddenly unsure of where he belonged now that the danger had passed. A nurse looked at him kindly. "You saved her life," she said. He shook his head. "I just didn't walk away." The German shepherd lay down near the wall, tired but still watching. The girl was placed on a bed, warm blankets tucked around her. Before they moved her farther inside, she reached out her hand. "Will you stay, just for a little?" she asked. The veteran didn't hesitate. He took her hand and nodded. "I'm right here." Time passed slowly. The storm outside continued, but inside the hospital, there was peace. The girl's color slowly returned. Her breathing was normal now. She was safe. Later, a doctor approached the veteran. "She's going to be okay," he said. "You got to her just in time." The veteran let out a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He looked down at the dog and rested his hand on its head. "You hear that, boy?" he whispered. "She's going to be all right." The dog's tail thumped softly against the floor. As the night went on, the girl fell asleep, safe and warm for the first time in a long while. The veteran sat quietly beside her, the weight of the night finally settling in. The storm had tried its best to take her. But it had failed. Morning light slowly filtered through the hospital window. The storm had passed, leaving behind a quiet, pale sky. The girl stirred slightly under the blankets and opened her eyes. For a moment, she looked confused, then her gaze settled on the veteran sitting nearby. "You're still here," she said softly. "I told you I would be," he replied. She smiled faintly. It was small, but it was real. The German Shepherd lifted its head and wagged its tail gently, resting its chin on the edge of the bed. The girl reached out and touched its fur. "He's warm," she whispered. "When I was outside, he didn't let me feel scared." The veteran nodded. "He knew you needed someone." She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the ceiling. Then she spoke again, her voice slow and careful, like each word took effort. "I didn't mean to be there," she said. "My aunt was supposed to come back. She said she'd be quick." The veteran listened without interrupting. "She left me near the road," the girl continued. "She said she needed to get something. I waited. The snow started falling harder. I called out, but no one stopped. Cars passed, people passed. Her hands tightened around the blanket. I couldn't move fast. My chair slipped. Then it tipped over. After that, I couldn't get up." The veteran felt a heavy ache settle in his chest. "I was cold," she said quietly. "And tired. I thought maybe, this was it." The German Shepherd let out a soft sound and pressed closer to her. She smiled sadly and stroked its head. "Then I heard him," she said. "I thought I was dreaming." The veteran swallowed. "You weren't." She turned her head toward him. "Why did you stop? You could have kept walking." He thought for a moment. "Because my dog wouldn't move," he said honestly. "And because no one deserves to be left like that." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. "I thought I was invisible," she whispered. He leaned forward slightly. "You're not invisible. You matter." Silence filled the room, peaceful but heavy with emotion. Outside, the world was waking up again, unaware of how close she had come to being lost. A nurse entered quietly, checking her vitals, smiling reassuringly. "You're doing very well," she said. "You're strong." After the nurse left, the girl looked at the veteran again. "What's your name?" she asked. He told her. "And his?" she asked, nodding toward the dog. He smiled. "He's been my partner for a long time." She nodded slowly. "I'm glad you found me." "So am I," he said. She closed her eyes, comforted, her hand resting gently on the dog's fur. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe enough to sleep without fear. And for the veteran, that quiet moment felt like something he would carry with him forever. Later that day, the room felt different. Quieter, but heavier. The girl was awake, sitting up slightly with pillows supporting her back. Color had returned to her face, though she still looked small and fragile under the blankets. The German Shepherd lay on the floor beside the bed, calm but watchful. A woman and a man entered the room. They were gentle in their tone, careful with their words. They introduced themselves as social services and asked if they could speak with the girl for a moment. The veteran stood up instinctively, but the girl looked at him and nodded. "It's okay," she said. "You can stay." They asked her simple questions at first. Her name. How old she was. Where she lived. Then they gently asked how she ended up alone in the storm. The girl hesitated. Her fingers tightened around the blanket. The German Shepherd lifted its head, sensing the shift in her mood. The veteran stepped closer. "You don't have to rush," he said quietly. She took a slow breath. "My aunt was watching me," she said. "She gets tired of me sometimes." The words hung in the air. "She said she just needed to go somewhere for a minute," the girl continued. "She left me near the road because it was easier. She said I'd be fine." The man from social services frowned. "And she never came back?" The girl shook her head. "I waited. It got dark. Then the snow came. The room felt cold again, even though the heat was on." The woman spoke softly. "You did nothing wrong," she said. "What happened to you should never happen to a child." Tears finally slipped down the girl's cheeks. "I tried to be good," she whispered. "I didn't complain." The veteran felt his hands clench at his sides. He forced himself to breathe. The woman nodded gently. "You were very brave," she said. "And you're safe now." They explained that the authorities were looking into what happened, that the girl would not be going back to the place where she had been left. She would be protected. The girl looked up at the veteran. "Does that mean I won't be alone again?" He met her eyes. "No," he said firmly. "You won't." The German Shepherd stood and moved closer to her bed, resting its head near her hand. She smiled faintly and touched its ear. Before leaving, the woman turned to the veteran. "You changed her life," she said quietly. He shook his head. "She just needed someone to stop." After they left, the girl seemed lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. "I was scared to tell," she admitted. "But it feels better now." "That's because the truth matters," he said. She leaned back against the pillows, exhaustion returning, but this time it was a peaceful kind of tired. Outside, the world continued on, unaware that a small life had just been saved from being forgotten. But in that room, everything had changed. Days passed quietly. The girl grew stronger with each morning. She could sit up on her own now, and sometimes she even laughed softly when the German Shepherd did something silly, like tilting its head or thumping its tail against the floor. The hospital room no longer felt cold or frightening. It felt safe. The veteran visited every day. Sometimes he brought a small book. Sometimes he brought nothing at all and just sat there, listening. He never rushed her, never asked too many questions. He simply stayed. One afternoon, sunlight filled the room as the girl looked out the window. "I forgot what quiet feels like," she said. The veteran smiled. "Quiet can be good." She nodded. "When I was waiting in the snow, it was quiet too. But that kind hurt." He understood what she meant. "This kind doesn't," he said. The German Shepherd lay at her feet, asleep but alert even in rest. She watched the dog for a moment, then asked, "Does he always protect people?" "He protects those who need it," the veteran replied. She thought about that. "Then maybe, he knew I needed him." "Maybe," he said gently. A social worker returned later that day with updates. Arrangements were being made. A safe place. People trained to care for her properly. A place where she wouldn't be treated like a burden. The girl listened carefully, then asked a quiet question. "Will I have to move again and again?" "No," the woman assured her. "This time, it's meant to last." After she left, the girl sat silently for a while. Then she looked at the veteran. "I'm scared to hope," she admitted. "That's okay," he said. "Hope takes time." She reached down and rested her hand on the dog's back. When he stayed with me, I started hoping without knowing it. The veteran felt something shift inside him. He hadn't planned for any of this. He had just gone out for a walk that night. But now, this small room, this child, and this quiet healing felt more important than anything he'd done in a long time. That evening, as the lights dimmed, the girl spoke again. "Do you think some people are meant to find each other?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I think sometimes the world puts us where we're needed most." She smiled and closed her eyes, comforted by the thought. Outside, life went on. Cars passed. People hurried. But inside that room, something fragile was being rebuilt: trust, safety, and the belief that tomorrow didn't have to be frightening. And for the first time, the girl believed that her life was finally moving forward. The room was quiet that evening, quieter than usual. The girl was resting, her eyes half closed, listening to the steady rhythm of the hospital sounds. The German shepherd lay nearby, calm but watchful. The veteran sat in the chair, staring at his hands. A doctor entered softly and spoke with him outside the room. The words were gentle, professional, but heavy. "She'll recover physically," the doctor said. "But stability matters now. Consistency. She's been through a lot." The veteran nodded slowly. Later, a social worker joined him. "A long-term placement is being arranged," she explained. "It will take some time. Until then, she'll move to temporary care." Temporary. The words stayed with him. He returned to the room, his expression thoughtful. The girl noticed immediately. "Did something bad happen?" she asked. "No," he said quickly. "Nothing bad." But she watched him closely. "You're thinking too loud," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "Am I that obvious?" She nodded. He took a deep breath. "They're finding a place for you," he said carefully. "Somewhere safe." She nodded slowly, but her fingers tightened around the blanket. "Will you still come?" The question landed harder than he expected. "I'll try," he said. She didn't look away. "Promise?" He hesitated. The dog lifted its head, sensing the shift. The girl followed the dog's movement, then looked back at the veteran. "You don't have to," she said quietly. "People always say they'll stay, then they go." The words hurt more than anything else that night. He leaned forward. "I didn't plan for any of this," he admitted. "That night, I just followed him." He glanced at the dog. "I didn't know it would turn into something this big." She nodded, understanding more than her age suggested. "But you stopped," she said. "That matters." He sat in silence for a long moment. Later that night, after she fell asleep, he stood near the window, watching the city lights. His life before that storm felt distant now. Simple. Quiet. Empty. The German shepherd came to his side and rested its head against his leg. "I don't know if I can do this," he whispered. The dog looked up at him, calm and steady. He thought about the snow. The fear in her eyes. The way she trusted him without question. The way she asked him to promise. By morning, his decision was still unspoken, but it was forming. And deep down, he knew one thing clearly. Walking away this time would hurt more than staying. Morning came slowly. The girl was awake early, watching the pale light creep across the wall. The German shepherd sat near the door, calm but alert. The veteran entered the room with 2 cups of coffee in his hands, setting one aside untouched. He looked tired, but there was something different about him. A steadiness. The social worker arrived not long after. She smiled politely, ready to go through her notes again. "We've arranged a temporary placement," she said. "It's only until everything is finalized." The girl listened quietly, her hands folded in her lap. She didn't interrupt. She didn't ask questions. She had learned how to be quiet when things were decided for her. The veteran cleared his throat. "There's something I want to say," he said. The social worker looked up, surprised. "Of course." He hesitated for a second, then spoke. "I don't want her moved right now." The room went still. "She needs stability," he continued. "She's been moved enough. If there's a way. I want to help. I want to be involved." The girl's head lifted slowly. Her eyes widened, but she said nothing. The social worker studied him carefully. "Are you saying you want to be considered as a guardian?" He nodded once. "I'm saying I don't want to disappear from her life." Silence followed. The German shepherd stepped closer to the girl, sitting beside her, as if claiming his place. "This would be a serious commitment," the woman said gently. "Not temporary. Not emotional. Permanent." "I know," he said. "I've thought about it." The girl finally spoke, her voice small but steady. "You don't have to," she said. "I don't want to make things hard for you." He turned toward her. "You're not making anything hard," he said softly. "You made something clear." The social worker exhaled slowly. "There are steps," she said. "Evaluations. Paperwork. Time. I'll do all of it," he said without hesitation. The girl stared at him, trying to understand what this meant. "Does this mean, you'll stay?" He met her eyes. "Yes. If you'll let me." Her lips trembled. She nodded once, then again, faster this time. She reached out, gripping the edge of the bed. The German shepherd wagged his tail gently. The social worker smiled, emotion softening her professional tone. "Then we'll begin." After she left, the room felt lighter, like something heavy had been lifted. The girl leaned back against the pillows, overwhelmed but calm. "You really meant it," she whispered. He nodded. "I did." She looked at the dog, then back at him. "Then maybe, this is my home now." He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "We'll build it together." And for the first time since the storm, the future didn't feel uncertain. It felt possible. Weeks passed. The girl no longer stayed in the hospital. She moved into a small, quiet home where the mornings were gentle and the nights were calm. The walls were plain, the furniture simple, but it felt safe. The veteran was there every day. At first, everything was careful. Slow. She watched him closely, waiting for signs that he might disappear like others had. He noticed, but he didn't push. He let time do its work. The German shepherd became her shadow. Wherever she went, he followed. If she laughed, his tail wagged. If she grew quiet, he sat beside her, steady and patient. One afternoon, the girl struggled to reach a book that had fallen to the floor. Before the veteran could stand up, the dog gently picked it up and placed it in her lap. She laughed, a real laugh, loud and surprised. "He listens to me," she said. "He listens to his heart," the veteran replied. They began to build routines. Morning tea. Quiet afternoons. Evenings filled with simple conversations. The girl talked more now. About small things. Favorite colors. Things she wanted to learn. Places she dreamed of seeing. One evening, she asked, "What was your life like before me?" He thought for a moment. "Quiet," he said. "Too quiet." She nodded, understanding. "I don't like quiet that much anymore." Neither did he. Some nights, fear returned. She would wake from bad dreams, her breathing fast. He would sit with her until she calmed, never rushing, never leaving. "You always come back," she said once. "I always will," he replied. The German shepherd lay at the foot of her bed, guarding her sleep like it was the most important job in the world. Slowly, without anyone noticing the exact moment it happened, the house stopped feeling temporary. It started feeling like home. Winter returned quietly, not with a storm, but with soft snow falling from a pale sky. The world outside looked peaceful now, nothing like the night that had changed everything. The girl sat near the window, watching the snow drift down. She was stronger now. Calmer. There was light in her eyes that hadn't been there before. The veteran stood beside her, hands in his pockets. The German shepherd lay between them, relaxed but aware. "Do you remember the snow?" she asked softly. He nodded. "I do. I used to think it meant being cold," she said. "Being alone." She paused, then smiled slightly. "Now it just feels quiet." They stepped outside together for a short walk. The air was cold, but not cruel. The dog moved ahead, then stopped, making sure they were both there. The girl looked up at the veteran. "You didn't have to stay," she said. "I know," he replied. "But I wanted to." She reached out and held his hand. It felt natural. Easy. They stopped near the edge of the path, where the snow was untouched. The veteran looked around, remembering the fear, the darkness, the silence of that night. "So many people walked past," she said quietly. "But you stopped." He shook his head gently. "We stopped," he said, nodding toward the dog. The German shepherd wagged his tail slowly. The girl took a deep breath. "I think I'm not afraid anymore." The words meant more than they sounded. As they turned back toward the house, the snow continued to fall softly, covering the ground like a fresh beginning. No urgency. No fear. Just peace. Inside, warmth waited. That night had almost taken everything from her. But kindness, loyalty, and one moment of courage had given her a life she never thought she'd have. Some people pass by. Some people stop. And sometimes, stopping changes everything. Thank you for watching this inspiring story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More amazing stories are coming soon.